Hey everybody, welcome back. We are here in Atlanta again. We have an update today to the sim update for beta. This is now version 1.6.7. I've added one thing to the stats here on the upper left, which is frame time. I am going to get into this more in another video, but frame time is what we really should be focused on in terms of smoothness and stuttering. Consistent frame time is what we're looking for. There is also one change I have made to the settings because I want to see how this affects the 1% low, the 0.2% low, and frame time. And that is, I have enabled the max frame rate setting. So now I have my max frame rate set to 30, and I'm using DLSS frame generation to double that to 60. So we're going to see on this flight what kind of an impact this has on our frame rates, particularly the 1% low and the 0.2% low, as well as frame time. So far, my observations are that the 1% low and 0.2% low seem a lot more stable, which is what we're looking for. We're ready to go 2.6 left. %, N1. EGT stabilized. Max toga. I don't have runway green because I put the wrong runway into the FMC. V1 and rotate. Positive rate of climb. Here's coming up. Spoilers. VTEX for flaps 1. Flaps up. All right, here we are arriving into the Dallas area, and we're on a downwind now for runway 18 right. Things are looking very good, very stable. Photogrammetry is off, as was the case in the previous flight. All set to fly the ILS 18 right. Alright, and start our left base here. And what we're looking at is frame time. I'm going to see if we see any frame time spikes, and also that 1% low and the 0.2% low, which have been super stable the whole way. Speed checks for flaps 1. On the speed brakes. Auto brakes set to medium. On the approach. Rock solid the whole time. Performance has been excellent. I don't even think I've seen the stuttering percentage go up at all. An 18-mile final here for 1.8 right. Got the glide slope. Localizer is captured. Missed approach altitude is in the MCP. Speed checks flaps 2. (2500) AGL is about 3,100 feet. MSL, so that's where we'll go flaps 3. A little bit of what it's calling stuttering there as we go into the light clouds here. Go down. Flaps 3. And you expect that with these misty type of clouds. But those 1% lows and 0.2% lows are much better than they were with desync limiting the frame rates to 60, which is my monitor refresh rate. And Nenti is about 5 miles. Alright, speed checks flaps full. Spoilers are on, gear down 3 green, flaps are set. At about 1,600 feet we'll go autopilot off. Okay, my airplane. Stabilized.
Above. Minimum.
Continuing. Might have been a little firm there. Not too bad. Not too bad. Important thing being the performance, and look at this, absolutely zero stuttering that I saw. I mean, I was flying, but zero stuttering that I saw. I will be very curious to see, in particular, the frame times here coming up. Not bad on the parking job today. So let's get a look at the numbers. Now let's take a look at the numbers. These are the last 3 flights to Atlanta, or from Atlanta to Dallas. The bottom one is the first flight with photogrammetry on. The middle one is the second flight with photogrammetry off. Third one is the flight we just did with FPS limited at 50% of my monitor refresh rate, which is 30, and then doubled using FrameGen. The most interesting number for us performance-wise is in gold at the bottom, the 0.2 percentile FPS. That's where we're going to see stuttering or smoothness, one of the two, depending on how we perform. You can see with photogrammetry off that improved from the first flight to the second flight, but when I limited the FPS on the third flight, it jumped significantly. So that is a huge improvement right there. Now let's take a look at one more slide. This is the one that's really going to show us the improvement. So if you look on the bottom here, in blue is the first flight, photogrammetry on. And this is frame times over here on the left. So the higher this is, the worse your performance is, the less smooth it's going to be, and the more stuttering you're going to have. So you can see as we got into Dallas on that flight, these frame times go up, 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 up. And that's where you get these spikes that we see here and stuttering. The second flight, they kind of went up with, this is with the photogrammetry off, they went up kind of along the same lines and then eventually tapered off. It didn't continue straight up like the other one did. Much better in the second flight. This third flight is really pretty impressive. This one with FPS limited, you can see none of the increase even as we get into the Dallas area, none of that. And then right at the end, as we get to the airport itself, it comes up, but significantly lower than even with just photogrammetry off. And so what this shows us is that if we turn photogrammetry off, we're going to get better performance. If we limit your FPS at half your monitor refresh rate and then use FrameGen, you are going to see a significant reduction in stuttering and a much, much smoother experience. A great test, really great information. Hope this is useful to you guys. Any questions, comments, feedback, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section below, and we'll talk soon.